is still in the S, but I'm not shifting the gears. So here we go. Yeah, I mean, especially at the high end of the RPMs, man, it sounds really good. Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the 2025 Honda Ridgeline TrailSport. And I'm going to tell you why this is the most off-road and rugged trim in all of the Ridgelines available. So we'll go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after, or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. Now, the Honda Ridgeline has really gone through just 2 generations, right? In this case, it went to a much more sophisticated, kind of more traditional truck-like design. That first generation of Ridgeline was really boxy and kind of bold for the time when it launched, and maybe polarizing to some. But in this second generation Ridgeline, it went to a much more traditional pickup style truck, even if that was still a unibody design. Now, within that, over the years, Honda's added trims, features, content, and then they eventually got to the point where they added their TrailSport off-road rugged trim to the Ridgeline as well. And so what we'll do is we'll do a full walk around and talk about all the change points that truly make this a off-road capable pickup truck. But first, let's go ahead and talk about some of those trims and pricing. Now, like I said, this is the TrailSport trim, which is near the top. In fact, you really only have one more trim before you step up into the fully loaded Black Edition. And if you haven't already watched that yet, we have a video of the Black Edition Ridgeline here on Drive Culture as well. If you go to the other end of the spectrum and start at the base trim, it's just a little over $40,000. That's the Sport all-wheel drive trim for Ridgeline. And yes, we have a video of that one as well, as if you want to check that out too. So we've got a few different trims on the channel, but this is the first time for the Ridgeline that we're bringing the TrailSport here to Drive Culture. So this one here, right, is $45,380 MSRP. Now, that doesn't include this awesome paint, which is called Diffused Sky Blue Pearl. That would be an extra $455 on top of that. So you could still be under $46,000 to get the truck that you see here. So it's a pretty good value. And like I said, it's kind of towards the top of the trim line, which will still actually be under $50,000 even for the Black Edition. So let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below, maybe which trim you're interested in. But for now, let's go ahead and cover the exterior of this Ridgeline TrailSport. All right, guys, here we are with the exterior design of the Honda Ridgeline TrailSport. So, like I mentioned in the beginning here, this is the TrailSport trim. So it's really going for a more kind of bold, off-road, kind of rugged design. The TrailSport, has really kind of made its way through most of Honda's light-duty trucks right now. So you can get a TrailSport on the Pilot trim. They have that all-new updated Passport that, of course, has TrailSport. And Honda's even announced that CR-V is actually going to get a TrailSport as well. So TrailSport, all the things, right? But let's go ahead and talk about the exterior design of the Ridgeline, and particularly this TrailSport, which makes it that kind of off-road rugged trim. But first, man, like I said in the beginning, this diffused sky blue pearl paint looks fantastic, guys. It's a really, really nice color. Has lots of pearlescence in it, and kind of flexes under the sun here, so it looks really good. But here we have the hood of the Ridgeline, 2 nice sharp character lines that take you down to the front. So you got these headlights here, daytime running lights, look good. You get to the middle here, you see there's kind of this bar that like kind of connects the 2 headlights. Now on the TrailSport and like the Sport trims, that's blacked out. Some of the other trims still have it where that's a big kind of chrome piece there. Below, you've got that huge Honda emblem, and of course this TrailSport badging off to the right. So TrailSport's always defined as like orange. That's kind of the hero for the logo for TrailSport. Now, you can also see it's got this kind of bold, grille design here. On the TrailSport, it's actually painted this kind of like dark gray color. So I think that looks really good. I know on some of the other trims and models that's painted black, but I think for Ridgeline that looks really good. Down below, you do get some functional openings. You have the turn signals, and you can also see there's actually some functional venting off to the side here. So if you just take a quick look, you can see that it's actually, you can see where the air travels through the front to the side. And then down below, you even get LED fog lights as well. So there is the front of Ridgeline TrailSport. Let's go ahead and just kind of take in the entire profile here. So like this is where I said in the beginning, the first Ridgeline, had a little bit more kind of polarizing design from where the rear of the truck met the bed, kind of slanted down. This one, like I said, is much more of a traditional kind of pickup truck design. Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Did you like the first gen better? Do you like this new second generation Ridgeline better? But again, I think it's, they've kind of tried to make it a little bit more beefier with each of the model years. They've added new suspension and new wheels and tires on this to, again, make it part of that TrailSport package. So let's go ahead and take a look at said wheel and tire package here. So here we are, guys. These are general grabber all-terrain tires. So real all-terrain tires on this, 18-inch wheels, painted in like a dark silver, looks really good. These are 245/60 R18 tires here. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of quickly look so you can get an idea of the tread. So yeah, I mean, legitimate off-road tires. Honda says that the Ridgeline TrailSport gets an off-road tuned suspension, right? And then some of that is also going to be dictated by the IVTM4 all-wheel drive system, which we'll talk about during the drive. So next, we got things like the side mirrors, which are painted black. They do have LED turn signals, and they are power folding. So we'll show you how that works. You get the black treatment over the windows there, and then all of the lower cladding that goes around the fenders as well. All that's plastic. You got the fuel door there and the tires in the rear. So it's a square setup. So we won't review that, but let's go ahead and make our way to the rear. Now, this is one of the bigger change points that they did later in the Ridgeline life cycle here, was they added in Ridgeline. They like stamped it into the tailgate. So I think that looks really good here, and it's really easy to read in this color too. Maybe in the white it's a little bit harder to read, but here in the blue it really pops out. So that's really cool. Above that, you've got the handle to lower the tailgate, as well as the rear view camera. It's kind of nicely integrated there. You've got the Honda logo, and it's not even a logo. It's like spells out the name Honda. Like that's the corporate badge in chrome down there on the left. Of course, the TrailSport badge down on the right. And then if you look a little bit lower, you got those two huge exhaust pipes there. So that, again, that kind of helps with the overall kind of sporty design of Ridgeline. You do have a tow hitch as well as built-in recovery tow points there as well. So that's nice. And the thing about it is, Ridgeline is actually capable of towing up to 5,000 pounds towing capacity. So we'll just do a quick peek in here into the bed. We'll kind of talk a little bit about this here in the cargo space, but just to show you what that looks like here on this little mid-size pickup. So that's all the exterior design of the Ridgeline TrailSport. With that, I think next, let's go ahead and hop inside to talk about the interior. All right, guys, here we are inside the 2025 Honda Ridgeline TrailSport. And we're going to cover all the interior details here. First and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about the steering wheel here. So it's a good size shape. It's kind of a four-spoke design. It has a lot of perforations here on the side, feels really good. And like a lot of the other places in the interior, given that this is the TrailSport trim, you do have lots of orange stitching even on the steering wheel as well, which is a nice touch. You got the Honda badge right here dead center. You have the volume controls off to the left, all of your cruise control stuff off to the right, as well. This is a heated steering wheel. So, normally those types of features usually make their way only on the top trim, which would be the black edition for Ridgeline, but the TrailSport also gets the heated steering wheel, which is really, really nice. Behind there, you do have paddle shifters, minus on the left, plus on the right. We'll talk about how those work and what they do during the drive, but that kind of summarizes the steering wheel. If I look across the dash, this was like I said, the second generation Ridgeline, so it's kind of a big departure from the first gen, but it's been around for a few years. But despite that, Honda has made some updates to things like the gauge cluster as well as the infotainment. So dash has kind of primarily stayed the same, but they've made some small enhancements throughout the life cycle of Ridgeline. So let's talk about it. In front of you, you've got Honda's 7-inch digital instrument cluster as well as an analog gauge for the speedometer. So on the digital side of things, it can display like your fuel, your range, music, navigation directions. So it's got some customizability. You can, cycle through here with the roller on the steering wheel, but it's not a full digital instrument cluster. Here in the center stack, you have Honda's 9-inch color touchscreen. It's a really nice unit. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, and there are some hard buttons for the home menu to go back to the home menu or out of other menus. And then you have two hard buttons for the track functions, as well as an official power button and volume knob here, and it's got really good tactile feel. So this is a really nice infotainment system. Looks good and has good connectivity. As we make our way down the center stack, you have all of your climate controls here. Now, everything is button. There's no touchscreen, which is really nice. Everything is very tactile, easy to use. You do have dual zone climate up here, and you also have a really clear LCD readout as well. Going a little further down, you've got just a little pocket space. You could shove maybe your wallet or something in here, and then you'll notice the buttons for the heated seats. So these seats are 3-stage heated seats, really big buttons, and it lights up 1, 2, 3 to let you know the level of heating that you have set. You go a little bit further down, and you have two USB charging ports. One is an A for data, C for charging, and next to that, you have a 12-volt socket. Below that, you have a full wireless charging pad here. It's kind of rubberized to keep your phone from sliding around too much. And then there's even an extra space here. So you could probably fit two pretty big smartphones down there. Making your way towards the center console, you have Honda's push button style gear selector, as well as two buttons here. One is to switch to the drive modes. It's actually like a picture of a little pickup truck. And then you also have the button to turn off the idle stop function. Next to that, you got two pretty big cup holders, which do have some ambient lighting here. You can't see that right now. We'll see if we can show you later, but those light up orange. That's kind of the theme together with the contrast stitching. Now, one of the other changes throughout the life cycle is they went from having these kind of fold down armrests to this huge center console and armrest here for Ridgeline. You open it up, you got lots of space in there. It's a really good cubby, and it just feels good. It's leather. It's got the orange contrast stitching, and it's in the perfect position so you can really just soak up the miles driving this thing. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the seats. So, as I mentioned, they're 3-stage heated seats. They do have the TrailSport logo stitched into the headrest. It looks really nice. Orange stitching, perforations all the way down. So really good seats. They're both power seats, which are nice as well, and you have some good adjustability. Lastly, you do have things like a full opening moonroof. It's not a panoramic moonroof, but at least you do get a moonroof on this trim. You have a place for your sunglasses. And some of your light controls up here at the top. And then down on the left here, on the side of the steering wheel, you have the controls for your side mirrors. And yes, you can power fold them in. The caveat is you actually have to push in the button to power fold the mirrors in. Next to that, there's an econ button to get better fuel efficiency. And you also have a whole array of buttons down here for parking control, lane keeping assist, collision mitigation braking, your lights for the bed, you want to light up your cargo space, and even a heated Parker for the wipers up front. So lots of buttons and controls over there. You also have memory seating here on the doors, as well as window controls, the two front windows, including power up and down for the front windows. Lastly, we'll talk about the audio here. It's a powerful audio system. Really no complaints. It's not branded. They don't have the Bose system in here, but it still is a powerful audio system, especially given how small the overall cabin is for Ridgeline. So I think we've covered everything up front. So next, let's go ahead and hop in the rear. All right, guys, here we are in the second row of the Honda Ridgeline TrailSport. Now, admittedly, the seat actually is back a little bit further than my real driver position, but I still have just a little bit of knee room. I can easily get my feet underneath the seat, which is nice though. I've got good headroom. You know, I'm about 5'10", and lots of width this way. So pretty good space. But you could probably fit 3 adults back here. At least you have pretty much a flat floor. And you do have some, width going this way. So you could easily fit, 5 adults in here, which isn't too bad. But if you do have a really tall driver, it will make it a little bit tighter here in the second row. On the doors, you do have like a big cup holder, a little pocket for like your phone, and the window controls. So pretty simple. You do get mat pockets on the back of both seats, which is a nice feature. And then as you look at the center area here, it's not tri-zone climate, so you do have vents back here, but you can adjust the temperature or fan speed or things like that. Going a little bit below that, there is a 12-volt socket on this trim as well. Now, as always, I do have a booster seat to show you how much space you might have, even if you have children. You can see this is actually a pretty good spot for the passenger seat as well. So easily you could fit kids back here. And yes, even if you had one of those big rear-facing child seats, I think you could easily latch that in and have good space for them as well. Here in the center armrest, you pull that down. You got 2 cup holders and a little square cubby space behind that. And even there's like kind of a small headrest that raises up and down. So, like I said, there's good space back here. But again, clearly this isn't as big as something like a Pilot or even like a Passport, right? So it's a little bit smaller inside. But I think we've covered everything in the second row. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space. All right, before we jump into the truck bed cargo space, there's one more area I wanted to show you here in the second row. So one of the cool things about Ridgeline is this second row bottom portion of the seat can be completely folded up here. So we'll show you what this looks like. Essentially, there's a pull handle, and if you pull it from the side, then you just lift up and it takes you into that up position there. So that's a really nice way to get extra storage, to get taller items into the second row. And you can see there's even space underneath the seat. So you could put a bunch of stuff on the floor and then have that seat come down for like added privacy, even if you didn't have passengers in there. So that's kind of a nice feature. And it's also a singular seat that can be lifted up over there. Right now I have the booster seat, but that also shows you have that flexibility to totally lift up that entire second row. So now let's go ahead and talk about this truck bed cargo space. All right, guys, let's go ahead and talk about the truck bed of the Ridgeline TrailSport. So as I talked about the exterior earlier, I mentioned that there was this, grab handle here to lower down the tailgate, which is pretty typical of most pickup trucks, right? You go ahead, you pull this, and essentially it snaps and kind of comes down, and now you have full access to the bed. But admittedly, when you do this, because this is protruding out, it's a little bit hard. You kind of have to like reach over it. It kind of limits how far you can actually get into the bed. So because of that, it's there's kind of 2 styles to open up the tailgate here. So you'll actually see here, it's actually stamped into the plastic. It says release, and there's a little arrow to show you that there's another handle hidden down here. And if you pull that, now it swings open, and then boom, it makes things a lot easier. So here I'll come around and show you. It makes it a lot easier to get inside. Now I can easily get more than halfway into the bed from the rear of the vehicle. So it's nice to have that 2-way tailgate. The other thing is what that does is it exposes some underfloor storage here. Now, up top, you've got a 1,500-pound payload capacity in this bed. But cargo volume-wise, there's 33.9 cubic feet of space. But under here, and you just kind of push and this lifts right up, you actually have another 7.3 cubic feet of space down here, including a drain plug, right? So you can put like ice. This could almost be like your tailgate vehicle where you have this filled up with drinks and other stuff. And then that way you can pull the plug and let it drain from the bottom. So that's a nice feature. Also, it's where Honda basically puts the compact spare tire and jack. Now, obviously, if this is closed and you've got a huge payload and things inside, yeah, that might make it difficult to get in there and access it. But at least it's included in the vehicle. And once you close this back down, it's pretty nice and easy. And then you actually have a manual key here that you could actually lock this bed if you really wanted that extra security. Outside of that, you got lots of kind of hooks here to rope things up, tie things down, which is really nice. And then you have those big lights in here, like I said, which can be controlled from inside the vehicle. So if you want to light up the bed at night while you're camping or something like that, you can do that as well. So I think we've covered everything here for the bed. Next, let's go ahead and cover the powertrain. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain of this Ridgeline TrailSport. So this one here uses Honda's 3.5 liter V6. Yes, this one is still the J35 engine. This isn't the newer V6 that's now in both the refresh Pilot and that all new Honda Passport that just came out. This is still the J35 series, which is a great engine. And in this configuration for Ridgeline, it makes 280 horsepower and 262 foot-pounds of torque, made it exclusively to Honda's 9-speed transmission. So again, it doesn't have the newer 10-speed transmission that's available in some of the other light-duty trucks just yet. But also has Honda's iVTM4 torque vectoring all-wheel drive system. So, combine that with the V6 power, it does have a really good powertrain, but there's no better way than to prove that out than to get behind the wheel. So next, let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive.
All right, guys, here we are inside the Ridgeline TrailSport. We're gonna go ahead and take this thing for a drive. So go ahead and put on my seatbelt, foot on the brake, hit the engine start-stop button, starts up. One of the nice things is the seat kind of moves forward. It is a setting if you don't want that to happen. I kind of like it. It makes it easier to get in and out of the vehicle. So as always, we'll go ahead and talk about all the different drive modes, how Ridgeline feels. But first things first, let's talk about the parking brake. So in this case, Ridgeline actually doesn't have the electronic parking brake or brake hold. So it's literally the old school pedal down here. You just push on it to release the brake, hit D for drive, and set off. So now we'll go ahead and start driving. Now, one of the things I'll probably focus on and talk about is the all-terrain tires that are on the TrailSport trim, because typically when you have these on a vehicle, they might make the ride quality worse. They might make the vehicle louder, right? The road noise gets a little bit louder inside the vehicle. But in the case of Ridgeline, I think it strikes a pretty good balance, right? So you can tell that the engineers worked hard to create a balance where you still get off-road performance, but you also don't lose a lot of the daily drivability. And let's be honest, I mean, I'm sure there's people that are going to take this thing on a trail and go hiking, camping, whatever else, but I mean, for the most part, you're driving it on the street. So I think, to me, that's better when the vehicle actually drives and still feels really good. And Ridgeline does. I mean, it's got really good ride quality. You do get a little bit of extra tire noise versus something like the Black Edition or other trims that don't have the all-terrain tires, but it's not like significantly noticeable. It's not way worse. So we're gonna go ahead and take off. One of the things that just happened is the engine did shut off, so it has the idle stop engine function here. There is a button back here, so if I just push that, now it gives you a message, and yeah, it won't come back on. But the thing is that it doesn't just stay when the vehicle turns off. So every time you get in, you are gonna have to push the idle stop off button if you don't want that to happen. So the other thing is right above that idle stop button is a picture of a little pickup truck, and that is the drive modes for Ridgeline. So there's 4 different drive modes on the TrailSport. So you have normal, snow, mud, and sand. And admittedly, once you get down into like mud and sand, you can see the stability control light come on, and it gives you a message saying, stability control's been reduced. So, I mean, that's the thing is with the all-wheel drive system and the logic, they're basically able to, adjust the traction, right? And how much power is being distributed front and rear to each tire, all those things to give you maximum traction performance given the road type and the road conditions. So here we are, going to go down this road. I always do. There's there's two train tracks. So one is somewhat aggressive, the other one is not so aggressive. So the first one here is just a little, that was not bad at all. The second one is a little bit more aggressive, so I'm going to take it at a slightly higher speed. I'm going to go to about 35, 36 mile an hour, like just driving over this. And usually if you go over this in something like a sports car, something really low, you definitely get a lot of undulation and you notice it. But here we are in the Ridgeline, that was really good. At the end there was a little bit of undulation, but overall the vehicle, the body, chassis was really rock solid. So so no issues there. As I talk about the steering, right, there's really not a true sport mode, but again, it's not a sports car, it's a pickup truck. It does have really good steering weight though, and the on-center feels really good. Now you obviously have those 4 drive modes that we talked about here, but off to the left there's even an econ button. Now if you push that in, all that's going to do is dial the throttle back a little bit, throttle response, maybe adjust the climate settings, right, to give you the maximum fuel efficiency out of your drive. But honestly, for me, for as much as it might save as far as fuel efficiency, I'm just gonna leave it off and drive in normal mode for most of this video. Now, like I said, there isn't an official sport mode in Ridgeline, but you can push the gear selector from D to S. So if you push it a second time, it turns it to S, and that does essentially make the vehicle feel a little bit faster, a little bit more sporty, because it's keeping the revs up, it's holding the gears for you in certain situations, and it allows you to take full advantage of the paddle shifters. So like I said, this is the 9-speed automatic transmission, and so when you pull the paddle shifters, essentially now it says S for sport, and then M for manual, and then what gear you're in. So I'm in first gear. I'm going to try to do a full blast in first gear. Automatically upshifted, second, even third, but man, you hear that V6 growl. That's good speed right there, and in that case, it held it in third at the top of the rev range. So, so if you're on a really aggressive hill climb or, going uphill, it's nice to be able to hold the gears to power your way up. So, other than that, though, you can pull the paddle shifters, and you can see it's pretty responsive in changing the gears for you. And if you're done with that and you don't want to pull the paddle shifters anymore to change gears, you just pull it on the plus side and hold it, and then it'll go back to the automatic shifting mode. The manual mode goes away. So look, at the end of the day, it's a pickup truck. Yeah, maybe everybody's not driving it super sporty, it's not a race car, but the ability to kind of go into that sport transmission setting, play with the paddle shifters a little bit, makes it a little bit fun. And again, the V6 growl on the car sounds really good. That's that J35 for the Honda and Acura fans. That engine, so definitely has a good sound to it. But overall, yeah, again, the driving dynamics of Ridgeline are really good. We'll do one last little blast here before we wrap things up. And this is still in the S, but I'm not shifting the gears, so here we go. Yeah, I mean, especially at the high end of the RPMs, man, it sounds really good. It's got a really nice V6 growl to it, and braking performance is actually really good too. I didn't have to get overly hard on the brakes there, and it quickly slowed down given the speed I was at. So look, I mean, at the end of the day, I think this is a good balance between the off-road capability, the different drive modes for the off-road capability, and then this kind of just everyday driving performance. So let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Like I said earlier, we have the Sport all-wheel drive and the Black Edition trims already here on Drive Culture. But if you want to see other trims or other pickup trucks from other brands, we're happy to bring you that content as well. So let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this drive review.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the 2025 Honda Ridgeline TrailSport? Is this really the best trim in the entire range of Ridgeline pickup trucks available? Are you gonna go something more with like the Sport, all-wheel drive, like start at the base, or go all the way up to the fully loaded Black Edition? Now, if you haven't already watched, we have videos of both of those trims here on Drive Culture as well. But as always, let us know if you want to see other trims and or other pickup trucks here on the channel. We're happy to bring that to you. And if you've joined us before, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.